Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty, and this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look into the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. And super excited to have an international guest today, Jon Chan. In March 2020, as the world shut down, he found himself sitting at the breakfast table turned shared desk with his pregnant wife. It hit him hard. If one of them couldn't work, they wouldn't be in a good position. So with no playbook for living through a pandemic, which none of us had, which was crazy times, he started digging. There had to be a better way. And he created what's called ACEs Management. And I'm looking forward to hearing Jon's journey on what he's created and what he continues to create to help clients achieve greatness. Jon, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show today. Welcome, mate.
I appreciate you having me.
Fantastic. I mean, can you believe it? Like we're in 2025 now. That was 5 years ago coming up to. But what was going through your mind back then? What were you thinking? Take us through those thoughts.
Yeah, so it was a lot of just uncertainty. Never gone through a pandemic. Was just Googling, when was the last pandemic? What happened before? What happened during? What happened after? And then, yeah, I mean, a lot of scary thoughts. It was to the point where, I mean, looking back at it now, it's probably unreasonable because of, where I was at in my age and health and everything. But even just driving to the grocery store, it was really freaky. In a place where I lived outside the DC metro area, it was traffic all the time. And then to go out there and just have it be a ghost town, it was super scary.
Wow. Wow. It would be, it was,
Yeah.
it's like, Armageddon. Everything's cleared out. Nothing's around, nothing's moving, and you're sort of
Yeah.
locked in at home. And so what was happening? Take us prior to that. What were you and your wife doing? What were you up to? Like before that pandemic, what was life like?
Yeah, it was just like any other normal American life. My wife and I both worked. Luckily, we both got to work from home. So it was just busy, busy. My wife worked for the F for a consulting company to help drugs get passed through the FDA. I was working in consulting, so it was always on the phones, helping people, make things a lot more efficient. And then just living life, not really any, just living a normal life, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where did the idea of ACEs management come from? Like talk me through that process. What was happening around that?
Yeah, so my goal in life was always just to make as much money as possible so that at some point I no longer have to work and I can just hang out with my wife and kids. And I had always heard that real estate was the route to go. My dad at the time had a few properties that I was managing for him locally, and I was just running the numbers like, this doesn't make any sense. You're not going to live off of $300 a door. So I think I just YouTubed how to scale in real estate and then realized, oh, it's not the cash flow, it's all the things that go along with it. And then just kind of nonstop. My wife remember telling me, she said, I heard that when you get into real estate, you need to eat, sleep, and breathe it. So that's what I did. 8 to 12 hours a day of podcasts, audiobooks, and YouTube. That's all I did all day, every day when I wasn't talking to my wife and kids.
Wow, that's incredible. And so how did you launch it and how did you then start to build the business?
Yeah, so it was very reckless and haphazard, to be honest. So I did what's called the Burr method, where you're essentially doing a fix and hold. But locally where I lived, it just didn't make sense. Nothing would cash flow. So I did everything in a state called Alabama, where things were cash flow, houses were cheaper. So I built a team out there, pulled a bunch of money out of my retirement account, my wife's retirement account, due to the CARES Act, because of the hardship, and then just started rolling. We ended up closing on our first three houses on December 31st, 2020. And I ran three projects at the same time because I have ADHD. So just kept rolling it over and over. One house would finish, then I'd go pick another one to say, you're not supposed to do this many all at once when you're new, but didn't learn until 2 years later that maybe you should kind of slow down. So that's just what I did. It was really get as many houses as I can, as quickly as I can, and understanding that I'm going to be better off with them than without them. Um, then finally, 2023, all the rates went up, so I stopped buying and really try to clean everything up, clean up the mess that I had made. Uh, and not too long after that, my mom decided that she wanted to retire. And so I did not want her to be a landlord like me because it's a lot of work. And so looked for another way. Had heard about self-directed retirement accounts. So I moved all of her money in her old retirement accounts into a self-directed, and then found lending opportunities, um, not knowing too much of what to look for. I just knew that if there's more than enough equity in these houses that you're loaning on, then you're pretty safe. So luckily, everything worked out really well. Um, then the following year, 2024, March, I went to a wedding, and a friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine that I had known for a long time, just looks at me and says, "I see what you're doing, but I don't want to go through all the work and the brain damage that you're going through. How do I get involved?" And so I then came up with a way to do all the work and help my friends and family use leveraged lending to build extra cash and make money in real estate.
Wow, that's incredible. What a journey. So take us through those first couple of years. I mean, that would have been hectic, stressful, all systems go. Take us through that process of so you find a house, you fix it up, rent it out, repeat. Is that the process? I mean, obviously shortened process, but take us
Mhm.
through from what is it? What are the key things that you look for a property to buy, and then what happens after that?
Sure. So basically, what we're doing is we're looking at a house and saying, all right, well, how much are they asking for it? How much in renovations is it going to take to get to make it rent ready? And then what's it going to be worth afterwards? And here, the lenders typically will not lend up more than 75% of the value of the home. So I just needed to make sure that purchase price plus carrying costs, holding costs, plus renovations, plus any overages would be 75% or less to do a cash out refi into long-term debt and get all of my money back out.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And so like what were some of the key lessons that you learned, if you look back from even 2023, as you said, when interest rates changed, what were
Mhm.
some of the key lessons that you learnt from those first couple of years of doing it?
Well, the first thing is do one at a time. Don't do three, four at a time. The next is if you do it on by yourself, you get to keep all the money. You get to keep 100% of the profits, but at the same time, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of work, and you're gonna make mistakes. You're not good at everything. I am not good at everything. There's a few things that I'm good at, and managing a project is not one of them. So I would probably pick up partners. I would also leverage other people's money more as well. Instead of using my own cash to do this, I would have used hard money earlier, um, and not jumping from state to state. So I have currently rentals in five different states, which sounds really cool, but the
Cool.
administrative work to do this is
Yeah, it's
not
a
an
lot.
enjoyable experience. I'd much rather have 30 houses in one market. Um, so yeah, don't get discouraged, and everything's going to be hard. So just figure out just be better at what you do instead of jumping. markets.
That's a really good point. Like, and I just want to sort of get on that in relations to know your strengths, right? Know your strengths, and
Mhm.
then looking at who else do I need on the team
Mhm.
to support that process. You know, because as you said, if you had three or four, how did you manage then the teams doing the fixer uppers and so forth in that process? Because that would have been crazy times.
Oh yeah, I mean it was unbelievably sloppy. I'm surprised that I bought when you could buy anything and it would appreciate, 10% by the time you're done with the renovation. There's nothing good about me. I just kind of got lucky. I feel like at least. But it was tough. It was a lot of trying to okay, it was a lot of putting out fires. My realtor would say, okay, these are things that you need to do to get the house rent ready. It says, okay, then send somebody for this, then wait a couple days and send someone for that. And it wasn't like a nice systematized process of, okay, the floors are done. Now we can do cabinets or any of that. It was, okay, well, what's next? What's next? Then, send someone out to go do it. Then after that's done, then what's next?
Yeah.
I mean, but I would not say I did it well. I just, again, got lucky.
But that's I guess that's the process of doing it multiple times. Each time you can reflect and look at that process and go, what, how do we
Mhm.
improve? And you know, 5 years down the track, it would be completely different from now
Yeah.
to when you first started. And so if you look at now, you helping, you know, family, friends, and clients do the same process. What do you see as the biggest challenge for people that they want to do this, but holds them back from doing it?
I think it's the fear of losing their money, which is, I mean, a really valid fear, right? You work hard for it. But in, I heard the saying like scared money doesn't make money. Um, I pulled out, I mean, I essentially took all the money out of, or most of the money out of my retirement account, my wife's retirement account to go all in. And if you think about 200 grand to just throw into houses that when you don't know what you're doing, um, I was maybe too dumb to be scared. I don't know, or maybe too ignorant to be scared. Uh, but I mean, it worked out, right? So now I have houses with a bunch of equity that are all cash flow. And, had I not given myself that chance to screw up, I would not be in this position.
Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that between with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show. It is though, right? It's the risk reward sort of ratio. And I
Mhm.
think, you know, you doing what you're doing now, I guess helps with your story, with your experience, helps to navigate people through that journey. And so if people are then on that journey, where do you think, where's that turning point for people to see, oh, this does work, or this can happen, and it flips their mind or their headspace to go, oh wow, look at the possibility from going from scared to like, oh,
Mhm.
opportunity. What's usually where is that in that process?
For me, it was when I first got that first cash out refi check, and it was more than what I had put into the house. To me, that was like, all right, well, this is cool. I can do it. Now, my problem was I didn't have the systems or the team in place. So I said, all right, if I can do it with this one, then I can do this with a bunch. So then just go buy as many as possible. But I think if you don't want to go through that, find someone who's doing what it is that you want to do and bring them value, whether that's bringing your money or if you don't have money but you have time, say, what can I take off your plate? How can I help you? And then learn that way. That will avoid a lot of the stress and the headache that a lot of people go through.
I totally right, totally. And so what else would you recommend for people out there thinking about? I mean, because obviously we're in Australia, different regulations and policies and
Hmm.
legislation with purchasing and lending, but still property, right?
Hmm.
Still concept, same concept. People over
Yeah.
here will still buy, fix up, rent, buy and holds. So what would you say for people maybe even looking at to invest into the US? What would you recommend and say to them as well?
I would say pick a market. It doesn't matter what market you choose. Just pick a market and start running numbers. It was how I learned, right? It doesn't even have to be a complicated thing. Just say, okay, well, if I buy this house, this is how much it rents for. These are the current rates. This is how much the rent's going to be versus how much I'm going to have to pay in expenses, and just do it um, 5 times a day. I mean, I have an accounting background. I have a CPA, but I hated doing that. Like when I was doing it by in the middle of the first house, I was already falling asleep. But you got to force yourself to do it because if you know your numbers, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, that's so true, right? No matter what investment you're looking at, no matter where it is, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's those numbers that huge. That's where it's at. It's
Mhm.
just running those numbers. What's the market like where you are at the moment within the real estate space?
So I live in Orlando right now. I moved down here about a year ago, and it is pretty crazy. I believe so I live in a place called Lake County. Just south of us, we have this place called Polk County, Polk. I believe Polk County in the US has the most number of people that moved to that county in the US in 2024.
Wow.
So it's absolutely insane. The house that I live in now, um, it was 4 years before it was half the price.
Ooh.
So yeah, this market is absolutely insane, and it's only getting worse because you have on the coast, like an hour away, you see SpaceX just launching rockets every single day, and so there's a lot of jobs and opportunity here that people are moving here. Plus, you have like Disney World and Universal, um, so people like to have fun too.
I love it. That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
And so what's coming up for you in the future? What are you working on? What does the next, what does 2025 look like for you?
So 2025 is going to look a lot different than 2024. 2024 is kind of like, all right, just keep getting punched in the face until you can figure out how to do this better, right? And so now with lending, learned a lot of lessons. Luckily everything's turned worked out really well, uh, but really focus on how do I do this, but more efficiently and safer. And so now instead of lending nationwide, I'm only going to target one market, which is Virginia, where I used to live for 30 some years. And it's going to be asset based. So I don't care if you're a felon or if you've got 1,000 flips under your belt, it's going to be asset based instead of borrower based. And so it's going to make my life a lot easier. We can do more deals this way. I can protect my lenders a lot better and really scale that way. And then on the other side, on the ownership side, so instead of just doing private credit, I'm also looking into RV parks. For those of you who don't know, RV parks are where you have this big trailer or this big bus looking thing where you can actually live in it, and you just drive around the country and live park it in different places like campgrounds. And RV parks, I mean, you get really good cash on cash return, and you get a 2 to 3x multiple on your money in 5 to 7 years because there's so many ways to make money. Uh, you're essentially running a business. So those are the two things that I'm working on.
How exciting. Yeah, in Australia, we don't necessarily have RV parks, but we have a lot of what's called caravan parks.
Hmm.
So very similar because our roads aren't and our highways aren't really designed for the big RVs, but we have
Hmm.
what's called the grey nomads. And the grey nomads are those usually, 60 plus very much like in the US when I've been there multiple times, seeing them in the RVs going around and doing tours and just living
Mhm.
in their caravans or RVs. What a great idea to invest in that, and that's a huge return. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well done for focusing on that and the lending side for 2025. John, on the show, what we have is our 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more about our guests. Are you willing to
All
play?
right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here we go. What's your favorite movie?
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but it's Tropic Thunder.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food. It was burgers, but it's still burgers. I mean, I don't eat as much, but they're just amazing.
Love it. Where's your favorite holiday destination?
Favorite holiday destination. I don't really have one because I mean, it's gonna sound really corny, but wherever my wife and kids are.
Beautiful, beautiful. And do you have a morning routine?
No, but I have started waking up earlier, so I go to bed at 9, and then I'll wake up at between 5 and 6, and then I just start my day super early.
Awesome. And what about an evening routine?
Evening routine, yeah, pretty much get the kids ready for bed, hang out with the wife and kids upstairs, and then hang out with them, read them books. And now we do jujitsu, so my kids
Ooh,
like
awesome.
so we do a little bit of fighting, and then um, go to bed.
Love it. Fantastic. That's awesome. And do you have a most embarrassing moment?
Yeah, I mean, how far back do you want to go?
Whatever works for you.
Okay. So this is from elementary school. I don't know if your audience is gonna like it, but this is the first thing that pops in my head. So I think it was in third grade or third grade. Um, I was having orange juice with vitamins in the morning, just like, vitamin pills. And my mom at the time or my mom, told me you probably shouldn't do that. I don't think it's good for your stomach. And I was thinking, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just gonna do this. And so I do it, and then I go to school, everything's fine, and then like my in the middle of class, my stomach starts feeling not well. So I don't think much of it, and then all of a sudden I just like soil my pants, right? And then
Oh.
yeah, and then so then I raise my hand, say, I gotta go to the bathroom because I don't know if more is coming. So I go to the bathroom and I'm sitting there just trying to clean up, and I'm sitting on the toilet in one of the stalls where you have the those flimsy doors, and then I hear this group of three boys come in, and then one kid says, "Hey, watch this," and then he kicks the door open, and then we both look at each other in the eye, and he freaks out and I freak out, and then I just put everything back there and go back to class.
Oh
One
no.
of that is probably the most embarrassing day of my life.
Oh dear me. Poor thing. Poor thing.
Yeah.
If you could choose five inspirational people to have dinner with, who would they be? They could be either dead or alive.
I would say Pace Morby, just because he's changed my life with real estate. Um, oh, uh, Tony Robbins, because his books really helped me. Joe Dispenza, I've been listening to a lot of his books. Uh, I don't know who wrote the book, but the author of Atomic Habits.
Oh, James
Uh,
Clear.
yes, yeah. And
Yep.
then how many am I at? I'm at four.
Yep. One
And
more.
probably the author of a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water, because that is really focused on not so worrying so much about the goal, but more about embracing and enjoying the journey.
Love it. Love it. Fantastic. If you were president for the day, what's one
Mm.
thing that you would change?
Oh. If I was president, I would simplify the tax code. I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Cool. And what's your best piece of advice?
Um, embrace the journey. I mean, we often look at our own lives and pick out the things that we want to do better at or be better at or fix. And we're not so much grateful for what it is that we have. Something that I heard from someone was someone in a hospital is in bed wishing that they could be in your situation. So, uh, learning to appreciate what is that you have, no matter where you're at, I think is gonna just make your life better.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. And so, where can the audience follow your journey, find out more, and yeah, get in contact?
Yeah, the best place is Instagram. I post a lot of stuff, even the uncomfortable ones where you're talking to the camera by yourself. I do my best to post there, but Instagram is probably the best place to reach out to me.
Awesome, fantastic, John. Really appreciate your wisdom, your energy, and your expertise, and thank you for joining us on the show today.
I appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.